collectively withdrawing from the marriage and dating market. According to the results of the 7th National Census, there are actually 33.62 million more marriageable men than women in China, yet there is a phenomenon of a surplus of women in the marriage and dating scene. This is especially true in the matchmaking markets of cities like Shenzhen, Nanjing, and Chengdu. The male-to-female ratio is as high as 1 to 40. In other words, out of every 40 women actively looking for a partner, only one will end up with a man willing to enter the matchmaking market. Clearly, we live in a society with more men than women, so why does the marriage and dating market seem to have more women than men? Online, everyone claims that for independent women of the new era, marriage is not a necessity. But in real life, why are there so many more women who want to get married than men? Who is lying? Who is staying silent? And who is creating anxiety? Who is paying the price for this distorted cost of marriage and relationships? It's worth mentioning that at the matchmaking corner in Shanghai's People's Park, next to a tag reading 985 master's degree woman, annual salary 300,000 yuan, requires man to fully pay for a marriage home in Jing'an, there are 50 women's profiles posted but not a single man's information. According to data from a real matchmaking agency in Fujian, the ratio of paid female to male members is as high as 50 to 1. Such a chaotic phenomenon precisely reflects the current state of the marriage and dating market. That is, men are actively withdrawing from dating and marriage. For men, the entry threshold is simply too high. Behind this is the frenzy of capital and traffic, but in the end, it's men who have to pay the price. First, there's the capital-driven hype, with women constantly engaging in gender double standards, which has distorted the market. Later, it was also discovered that on many dating platforms, services are free for women, but if men want to view the contact information of the opposite sex, they have to pay. They have to buy a membership or purchase premium service packages, which can cost tens of thousands. For example, on platforms like Zhenai.com or Jiayuan, female members access for free and get VIP badges, creating a false sense of prosperity with many so-called high-quality women. Male users pay fees from 3,000 to 200,000, and on some platforms, prices are clearly listed. For example, a diamond package is 188,000 yuan. They guarantee that you'll be matched with women earning over 500,000 yuan a year. In reality, many of the female profiles on these platforms are actually virtual personas, with professional teams carefully crafting their scripts behind the scenes, all to entice men to keep spending on the platform. Take Shanghai as an example. According to data from the Civil Affairs Bureau, the actual ratio of marriageable men to women is 104 to 100, but on dating platforms, the displayed male-to-female ratio is as high as 1 to 50. This kind of design is meant to package women as a scarce resource. This makes men pay for their anxiety about finding a partner. Secondly, it's all about consumerism. They're constantly brainwashing women. In the past, marriage emphasized matching family backgrounds, but now capital tells you that if a man doesn't have a house or a car, he's not capable, and if he doesn't spend money on you, he doesn't love you. There's the first cup of milk tea in autumn, the 108 must-buy wedding items. Almost the whole society is reminding women that the more money a man spends on you, the more it proves the security of your love. In fact, the best example of consumerism shaping the marriage and dating market is diamonds. With the slogan, "A diamond is forever," they forcibly tied diamonds to marriage, thereby manipulating the pricing system behind the scenes. From 2010 to 2023, the average price of a diamond engagement ring in China rose from 12,000 yuan to 58,000 yuan, an increase of 383%, while during the same period, the price of gold jewelry only increased by 127%. What's more, they even introduced a love formula that links the price of a diamond ring to 18 months of a man's income, directly causing the cost of proposing in cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen to exceed 200,000 yuan for men. Women who have been deeply influenced by consumerism have come to see many men as ATMs, turning relationships into a game of paying the bill. In the end, capital profits from both sides in the interactions between men and women. Of course, the sharp conflict between men and women is also fueled by the hype of self-media. On short video platforms, there's much toxic, female-oriented chicken soup content. Many relationship influencers with millions of followers say 20,000 yuan a month is the minimum, and anyone earning less is not marriage material. The 2024 China Marriage and Relationship Attitude Survey shows women's median income expectation for men in first-tier cities rose from 12,000 yuan in 2015 to 38,000 yuan in 2023, far outpacing men's actual income growth. Some lawyers even offer must-have marriage and relationship contract template. They require women to notarize property ownership, conduct credit checks, and sign loyalty agreements. Data from a Beijing law firm shows that in 2024, consultations about prenuptial agreements surged by 200%, with 78% initiated by women. These relationship coaches have turned marriage into risk investment, and with personalized algorithmic recommendations, men and women have been pushed into opposition. Information echo chambers on many platforms are severe. For example, what happens after a male user watches 3 marriage-related videos? The algorithm will continuously push content about division of marital property, alimony lawsuits, and similar topics. And what happens after female users are tagged by the algorithm algorithm as independent women. Videos about how to spend a man's money will be repeatedly recommended to them. In the end, men become immersed in horror stories about marriage, while women are trapped in fantasies of the perfect boyfriend. The longer these two groups remain in their respective information silos, the harder it becomes to achieve real-life marriages. If capital and the media have made men choose to stay silent in the dating and marriage market, then the real-life costs of relationships are the final straw that breaks the camel's back when it comes to high bride prices. In Shanghai, the bride price rose from 80,000 yuan in 2010 to up to 680,000 yuan in some cases recently. This is just the start. In Henan, there are even bride price loans with 15% interest rates. Men use parents' houses as collateral. When bride prices become financialized, divorce becomes an industry. In such regions, divorce rates are 23% higher than in big cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou. Many women, after getting the bride price in a short marriage, then file for divorce, leaving the man with nothing, losing his money in marriage. What's more ironic is that the inflationary effect of bride prices has started to spread outward. Many local women use the high bride price to buy houses in the provincial capital, which drives up housing prices there. The demand for higher bride prices by women in the provincial capital has directly contributed to the rise in housing prices. Faced with homes they can never afford, some men have chosen to give up. At this point, so-called relationship gurus jump in again. They say men these days are disappointing, but these so-called relationship gurus aren't responsible for your wallet or your life, so it's easy for them to talk without feeling pain. For men who want to get married, when they see the standards, owning a house, a car, earning $1 million a year, they realize they don't even qualify for blind dates. It's not that they're giving up, they've just recognized reality. No matter how hard they work, they still can't save enough for a down payment in a first-tier city. Even if they scrimp and save, they can't keep up with rising bride prices. Who doesn't want to fall in love properly? But unfortunately, in reality, every relationship comes with its own price. When marriage becomes a luxury, it's not just wallets that are emptied, but also the backbone of an entire generation. In 2024, the number of marriage registrations nationwide plummeted from 13.47 million couples in 2013 to 6.1 million in 2024, a drop by more than half. There are over 100 million unmarried men over the age of 30, and among them, 68% earn less than 8,000 yuan per month. They are well aware that they have long been excluded from the marriage and dating market. At the same time, the pet market has surpassed 300 billion yuan in scale, and there are now more than 2 million people working as gaming companions, exceeding the total number of primary school teachers nationwide. Behind these numbers are the choices countless men have made after struggling for a long time. Because once the cost of marriage exceeds what an individual can bear, withdrawing becomes the only rational choice. Now, the entire internet is criticizing men for lying flat, and everyone is accusing men of shirking responsibility, but no one has ever really asked why they are doing this. So let me ask you, who is it that demands men must have a house and a car to get married? While women can confidently require the man's income to be twice theirs, yet if a man asks his wife to share housework, he's labeled as having straight man cancer. In divorce, men's property loss rate is 41% due to property division, but stay-at-home dads receive compensation for housework in less than 5% of cases. And who is it that is deliberately creating legal risks that are unequal? What's even more absurd is that after men have emptied their family's savings for marriage, public opinion overwhelmingly insists that this is solely the man's responsibility. Have those who demand that men shoulder everything ever considered that if responsibility turns into one-sided exploitation, then can I regard marriage as legalized robbery? Of course, men collectively choosing to lie flat is neither a victory for men nor a failure for women. It is instead a tragedy for the whole society. The chain reaction triggered by the collapse of the marriage market will affect every one of us. First, there is a collapse in consumption. The per capita spending of unmarried men is only 31% of that of married men. They don't buy cars, don't buy houses, and are even less likely to buy baby formula. That's why, in the past 3 years, 42,000 companies in the maternal and infant industry have gone out of business. Next comes the population crisis. The number of births in 2023 has fallen below 10 million, and a wave of kindergarten closures is sweeping across the country. The economic pressure from an aging population is something everyone will soon feel. So, when the internet criticizes men for lying flat, remember, they are not avoiding responsibility, but refusing to become slaves to capital and online traffic. A real man does not need to prove his love with his wallet, nor his sincerity with a bride price, especially when faced with extremely unreasonable demand. They can also say no when women stop using independence to disguise self-empowerment, and when men are no longer held hostage by housing prices and bride prices. Then our marriage and dating market can move beyond the predicament of a surplus of women, because the essence of marriage is not a zero-sum game between men and women, but rather two souls fighting side by side.